The interesting thing about this top of the funnel when you study it is stop selling at the top of the funnel. What people tend to do at the top of the funnel is they learn everything about their products and services. So what do? They just spew it at the lead or the prospect that they're talking to. And you can't sell at the top of the funnel. This comes to the idea and the notion of quantity versus quality at the top of the funnel. And how should a salesperson who's the recipient of a marketing lead treat those marketing leads? You can't treat them all the same way. There are generally just too darn many. There are instances where it makes a ton of sense to do research. So once you've identified the right contact at the right account, research becomes paramount and very important. If you listen to organizations like SiriusDecisions, Forrester, Gartner, all those sorts of companies, they say the same thing. When they survey buyers, buyers are frustrated that sellers don't know they don't understand their business. Right? They say, sellers, you know your product and service is great, but you don't get my business. And research is a way around that. But how do you do research in a very efficient and effective way? Buyers are in different stages of their buying process, as a general rule of thumb. Some of them are very, very early on where they're just kicking tires, right? It's business as usual in their organization, and they're just consuming your content, which doesn't necessarily mean there's any active buying cycle underway. Now, some of them might be further on in their buying process where they're just trying to figure out, should we make a change? Does it even make sense for us to do something here? Some of them might be further still where they're evaluating options, or further still where they've evaluated options, and then they hit your website to gather more information that they can add to column C on their spreadsheet, which essentially makes you column fodder, right? Because all those people have already decided which vendor they're going to go with. The vendor that shapes their buying vision wins a disproportionate amount of those deals. We know that, but your salespeople aren't able to recognize that. So the next tip I would just say for you is, how adept is your sales force at identifying where that buyer is in that decision-making process? And once they do, how adept are they at listening? Because the reality is, again, sit with your sales team. If you're a marketer listening on this call, sit with your sales team. What you're going to hear is the salespeople are very good at asking questions. They're not particularly good at listening, nor do they even know what the science of active listening is. And the interesting thing about active listening is as much about what you don't say as about what you say. And people don't realize that. People don't realize that there is actually a science to listening and asking questions. Next slide.